And now, we have our next Lead the Change finalist. So Rhian Horwill is a woman who could see a level of imbalance and unfairness in her community, and she wanted to do something about it. She could see the systemic and long-held religious divide, and she wanted to create a space that could bring people together. Now, to be able to do that in her community is no mean feat and definitely required a deep journey for herself personally. So I'm going to let her share more about her story on the Lead the Change. So please put your hands together and help me welcoming to the stage, Rhian Horwill! I got all my sisters with me. We are family.
Hi. Get the microphone the right distance from my mouth. When I started preparing for this, I literally had no idea where to start. So I'm just going to start, and we'll fill in the relevance bit later. My daughter was handed to me in the nondescript doorway of a hotel room in China on the 21st floor, and she was screaming. Not just screaming, it was the painful shriek of genuine fear. She had no idea what was going on. She was handed to me with a form that gave us 24 hours to decide whether we wanted to keep her or not. It was such a surreal situation that we just stood there and stared at her, looking at this screaming creature in front of us, and we had absolutely no clue what we were going to do. That evening, we tried everything to calm her. I read her books, I sang, I bribed her with treats. We tried to bathe her, that didn't work. Even when I tried to give her a bottle, she couldn't even swallow, she was crying so hard. And the milk was pouring down her face, mixing in with the snot and the tears, most of the tears mine. I'd read all the books. I'd done all the trainings. I'd listened to all of the warnings that I had to go really slowly with physical contact because it would make things difficult for her if I didn't. But that night, I made a choice. I chose to throw out all the well-meaning advice. I chose to ignore all the idealistic books and the recommended methods. Those experts didn't know my child, and she was already my child. They had never met her. They didn't know her. So I chose to ignore my head and listen instead to my body, to listen instead to my mother's heart, my instinct. And what that said was to pick her up, climb into bed with her, and rock together. And that's what we did. I wasn't expecting applause at that point, but okay, thanks. And as soon as I did that, immediately the stress just flooded out of her body. It was exactly what she'd needed. And we wept quietly and gently together. We wept for all the tragedies around her birth, and we wept for the journey that she'd taken to get that far. And we wept that we'd found each other. And that is the power of instinct. I knew at that point that amazing things happen when you listen to your instinct. I knew it. I knew it in every cell of my body, but I didn't believe it. My head kept telling me I had to live by someone else's rule book. I didn't believe it was an option to live instinctively. I didn't think it was an option to listen to my own rule book. I just needed permission to even hear my own rule book. I was living in Superwoman. I had serial burnout. It was not going well. So in 2017, I clicked on a Facebook advert for the One Woman Conference. Some may say that was instinct, or some may say that was just wanting a really good night's sleep away from my 4 young children. I was in burnout at that point. I was starting my own business. I had gone through this grueling adoption process. I had also gone through a traumatic birth the previous year. I was not in a great place, and that night in a hotel room really appealed. And that changed me. Being in this room, being exactly where you're sitting now, changed me completely. It changed the trajectory of my life. And eventually I signed up for Lead the Change. It took myself a while to convince myself on that. And that taught me, through relentless and determined coaching, I did not give the coaches a very good time. I questioned everything. And a lot of digging myself, and through this amazing community, both in the room and online and through all the retreats. And it taught me to appreciate the truth of myself as my deepest mentor. I am the expert in me. And I started living by my own rule book. So since then, Instinct has built my coaching business, called ironically the Instinctive Parent, where I literally teach parents to hear and trust their own instincts so they can enjoy their parenting more. And Instinct was definitely out in force on an evening during lockdown when my friend and I were so desperate for female company that we were willing to sit outside in the garden around a fire pit, wrapped in blankets, hugging hot water bottles, just to see each other. And Instinct definitely helped suggest to us that maybe if we were this desperate to see each other, maybe other women were too. So we started to dream, and we dreamed of an inclusive space where women could be with no money, without having to spend a penny, where they could feel connected, where they could feel included, and where they could feel the magic of community. So the Village Armagh is a community hub for women in our local town. We provide support groups, events, and we support other women to follow their instincts, to set up their own groups and their own events, and even small businesses. We hold their hands and help them start up, and then as soon as they're ready, we literally hand the keys to them and say, off you go. And these groups are flying. It's amazing to see these incredible people who would never have thought to actually set something up themselves, saying, oh, I really want a group for young mums, or I'm an autistic adult and I really need a group of people who feel the same way as me. And they're finding their own little communities within our bigger community, and it's just incredible to see. So when I started trying to write this, I thought that I had to just talk about the village. And obviously it's a longer journey than that. It's a much longer journey than that. And my legacy of Lead the Change isn't just the village or my business or the improved relationships I have with my family, the improved parent I am. All these things are improved since I've learned to listen to my instinct. My legacy of Lead the Change is that in every aspect of my life now, I get to be unashamedly, unapologetically, unreservedly me. And that's priceless. That's absolutely priceless.
So, Rhian, if there is one thing that you could ask for from this community in terms of support, what would it be?
I know that a lot of people in here are here for the first time, and it's quite daunting when everyone else seems to know each other, right? I was here for the first time on my own, didn't know anyone, and I'm now one of those ones going up to give everyone a hug and going, oh, I haven't seen you for ages. And we've all been there. And even through my Lead the Change, I was quite almost jealous of people, because I live in Northern Ireland and they were all in England and they were meeting up to walk their dogs and go for coffee, and I wasn't part of that because I wasn't here, I wasn't physically here. And with the Village, I created that myself with help. My co-founder is actually sitting in the audience today, so I cannot take all the credit myself. But what I realized through that was that a village is not just a nice thing to have, it's a prerequisite for doing all the amazing things that we all want to do. And if you don't have a village, come and see me after, and I'm putting together a template, so anyone who wants to create their own village in their own town can do it just as easily as we did. So that's my ask. Come and see me.
Thank you so much. Give her a big round of applause. Thank you, Rhian. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Just incredible what's possible when we dare to dream and we infuse those dreams with our willpower through collaborative support. We can create spaces and so much more that can be so beneficial for people.